What's up, everyone? Today we're going to be focusing on three main movements for our pregame warm-up flow. The first one pictured here is going to be cat-cow. And what you can see is I begin by pushing into the ground and rounding my back like you see right here while tucking my belly button toward my spine. And then the second part of the flow is I very gently drop my belly toward the floor, pull my head back toward my butt, and let my back set into an arch. So we go from the arch position here into the heavily rounded position, driving our hands into the ground, rounding our entire back, dropping our chin, and then once again dropping the belly toward the floor, pulling the head back and setting the spine into an arch. This is going to open up our hips, and it's also going to get our spine moving, which is very important when we're about to sit in game for a long period of time. Once you guys finish 10 to 15 reps of this, we will end up moving into our second position, which is going to be the Samson Stretch we see here. But we're going to be doing a cross body arm modification with the Samson Stretch. So as you can see, it looks like I'm in a lunge here. Got one knee on the ground, and I'm in a split position. I'm squeezing the glute of the corresponding knee that is against the ground, as well as pulling that arm across my body. I have it slung gently across, and I'm going to switch after about 15 to 20 seconds. I'm going to feel that crossbody arm stretch in the back of my shoulder, into my mid-back, and maybe a little bit up into my neck, whereas when I'm squeezing the glute of that ground leg, I'm going to be feeling a stretch in the front of my hip. It's very important that you guys feel those positions, because that, once again, is going to open us up and get us ready for having the most optimal position while we game. Once again, I've switched legs now. I've got that glute squeezed on the ground leg, slinging the arm across the body. Keeping my core tight while I'm doing all this, making sure that I'm breathing in through my nose, out through my mouth, and contracting my core tightly. Breathing is another very important aspect of this. Not very talked about very often, but yet very important to both posture and exercise. Breathing. Make sure you guys are breathing while you're doing this. Entering into our third and final position here in just a second, we're going to be moving into a tall plank pose. The tall plank pose right here, the tall plank pose is going to open up the groin of the front leg, and it's going to open up the hip flexor in the front on the back leg. So all that tension built up in the hip flexors and the groin from gaming, we're going to try to work that out right here. So notice how my foot is right up next to my hand. I've got that back leg completely straight, razor blade straight, and I'm squeezing the glute of that back leg just like we did in the Samson Stretch. A little bit of movement in and out of the pose like I just did there is good. It'll help you guys to kind of wiggle yourselves into the pose a little bit deeper. Bringing that leg back, I then switch after making sure I have good positions. Once again, foot is up right next to the hand. Notice how that back leg is razor blade straight, squeezing that glute and using my arms to push firmly into the ground. It's very normal for your arms to get a little bit of a burn or a pump while you're doing this, because you are holding that plank position, that tall plank position. As I'm feeling that groin get worked out here, I'm going to switch, and now I'm going to move into the down dog. So down dog for me personally takes a second to get into, because I've got a really tight posterior chain. So you can see I'm squeezing my quads, I'm squeezing my kneecaps right in that area, and I'm driving myself back, pushing my heels into the ground. And then as I transition into that push-up position, what you saw right there, I make sure I lock my core up real tight and then very slowly engage and drive myself back into that position again. Once again, pushing the heels toward the ground, coming back into the push-up position here. Notice how tight the glutes are, squeezing the glutes really tight, and then driving through my arms and pushing those heels into the ground to get as deep into that down dog position as possible. Down dog is one of the most valuable positions for us as gamers to help open up that posterior chain all through the upper back, lower back, hamstrings, calves, glutes, everything. And now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to return back in and repeat that tall plank process, that tall plank groiner, one more time. Doing the left side first this time. Notice how I'm wiggling to get that position in just a little bit deeper. Slide into a down dog real quick. Bring that leg back forward. And now once again, I'm driving myself deep into that position, making sure that I'm getting that stretch in the front groin and that stretch in the back hip. Very valuable poses here. It's going to get you guys geared up to have a solid gaming session and get any stiffness in your hips that you may have out before we start the game. Once again, we're going to finish off with a little bit of down dog here, and then we can get right to some gaming. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the pregame warm-up. Hope you guys have a great game, and we'll see you for the post-game cool down.